You are not in control, and that's okay. The very idea that you must be in control, that you must dominate and direct the flow of life, is nothing more than an illusion. What if I told you that control is not something to strive for, but something to relinquish? You see, we live in a world that values certainty. We are constantly told that we must be the masters of our own fate, that we must control our circumstances, our thoughts, our destiny. But in this pursuit of control, we forget one simple truth: we are not in control. Life itself, in its mysterious and infinite complexity, flows according to its own rhythm, and we are but part of this great symphony. The paradox, however, is this: by letting go of the need for control, we find true freedom. We begin to understand that the river does not fight the current, it flows with it. We too must learn to flow with life, to adapt to whatever comes without resistance, without fear of the unknown. And yet we cling to the ego, that false sense of self that demands control, that believes it must govern every aspect of our lives. But when we examine it closely, we realize that the ego is not the true self. It is simply a collection of desires and attachments. It is not the essence of who we are. By releasing the ego's grip, we step into a space where control no longer holds power over us. We must learn to live in the present moment, for it is the only true reality. The future is a projection, a dream we have yet to experience, and the past is but a memory fading with time. The present moment is all we have, and in that moment we find peace when we stop trying to control it. Life, in all its chaos and disorder, has its own order. The universe moves in its own rhythm, and when we let go of the idea that we need to shape it according to our will, we find harmony with it. We stop creating friction, and instead we start to dance with the universe in a beautiful, seamless waltz. In surrendering to the flow of life, we discover a freedom that transcends any form of control. We are free to experience life as it is, untainted by the need to manipulate it. We are free to be ourselves, to exist in the interconnected web of all things. There is no need to control the threads of the tapestry when we realize that we are part of it, and it is part of us. So let go of the illusion of control. Embrace the uncertainty and trust that life knows what it's doing. You are not in control, and that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's the way things are meant to be. We live in a world that craves certainty. Every day we search for answers, for a sense of direction, for that feeling of knowing what is to come next. It's as though we believe that if we have control over the unknown, we can safeguard ourselves from the anxieties of life. But in truth, it's the very uncertainty of life that gives it its richness, its depth, its beauty. The more we try to cling to certainty, the more we rob ourselves of the freedom that comes with accepting the flow of the unknown. Uncertainty is an intrinsic part of existence, yet we have been conditioned to view it as something to fear. From a young age we are taught that in order to be secure, we must have a plan, a structure, a map of the future. But the more we plan, the more we realize that life has a habit of veering off course. It is in the spaces between our plans, in the gaps of our expectations, that true wisdom lies. Now, let us pause for a moment and ask, what is it about uncertainty that unsettles us? Is it the fear of failure, or the discomfort of not knowing what will happen next? We are not in control, and the thought of that often causes great distress. But when we come to terms with this, when we accept that uncertainty is not an enemy to be fought, but a natural companion on our journey, we can experience a sense of peace that transcends the need for certainty. There is, in fact, a quiet joy in surrendering to the unknown, in allowing ourselves to simply be without the constant pressure of needing to figure everything out. When you release the tight grip of certainty, you step into a world that is infinitely more alive, more spontaneous, and more vibrant. Life becomes less about rigid expectations and more about the flow of thoughts, the flow of moments, the flow of experiences. The trick is not to force the river to follow a predetermined path, but to allow it to find its own course. The more you try to control the river, the more you will find yourself at odds with the very nature of existence. But if you let go, if you allow the river to flow as it wishes, you discover that there is a greater wisdom at play than you could ever orchestrate. You see, life is like a dance. It is not about knowing the next step, about memorizing every movement before you take it. It is about moving with the rhythm of the music, following the flow of the moment, and trusting that when you let go of control, something much deeper will guide you. When we embrace uncertainty, we step into a state of receptivity where we become attuned to the currents of life around us. It's in this openness, this willingness to not know, that true creativity emerges. The greatest works of art, the most profound discoveries, the most beautiful moments in life arise when we let go of our need to have everything figured out in advance. And so we find that it is not certainty that brings peace, it is acceptance. Acceptance of the unknown, of the things we cannot control, of the unpredictability of life itself. The mind resists this, of course, because it wants to map everything out, to have a clear plan, to be assured that everything will unfold according to its desires. But the mind does not control life. The mind is simply one tool in the vast, infinite toolbox of existence. In the grand scheme of things, it's not the details we have control over that matter. It's the way we react to the uncertainty, the way we embrace the unfolding of the unknown. When we stop resisting the flow, we align ourselves with the deeper currents of life, and the fear of uncertainty begins to dissolve. We no longer need to cling to the illusion of control because we realize that we are part of something much greater, something far more expansive than our individual desires and plans. So, how do we move forward in a world where uncertainty reigns? We move forward by accepting it, by surrendering to it. We do not fight against the current, we allow ourselves to be carried by it, and in this surrender we find freedom, we find joy, we find a depth of experience that can only be accessed when we stop pretending we know what will happen next. To accept uncertainty is to trust the process of life, to trust that even in the chaos there is a pattern, a rhythm, a wisdom that is beyond our understanding. The more we release our need to control, the more we become attuned to this deeper wisdom, and the more we realize that life itself is the greatest teacher of all. When we accept uncertainty, we open ourselves to the vast, infinite potential of the present moment. We stop grasping at what is to come and begin to live fully in the here and now. The acceptance of uncertainty, then, is not a resignation, but a liberation. It is an invitation to live more fully, to trust more deeply, and to embrace life as it is, rather than as we want it to be. And when we do this, we find that the unknown is not something to fear, but something to celebrate. It is the very essence of existence itself, and when we embrace it, we find peace. We often carry within us the quiet belief that we are in control, that we can steer the course of our lives with the precision of a captain at the helm. From the moment we wake to the moment we sleep, we think we are shaping the events that unfold, that the future is something we can plan, predict, and command. But the more we cling to this illusion, the more we discover that control is not as real as we once thought. It is, in fact, a mirage, a fleeting moment of comfort that vanishes when we try to grasp it. Consider for a moment the nature of control. It is the idea that through our will, our thoughts, our actions, we can bend the universe to our desires. We believe that by planning meticulously, by preparing for every eventuality, we can ensure that things unfold exactly as we want. And yet, when we look closely, we see that life has its own rhythm. It does not follow the paths we carve for it. The plans we make, no matter how well intentioned or carefully crafted, often come to nothing. We face unexpected challenges, meet unforeseen circumstances, and experience moments that defy any attempt at control. The more we try to control, the more we often find ourselves at odds with reality. The mind, in its desire to dominate, creates boundaries, limitations, and expectations. It wraps itself around ideas of what should be, what could be, and what must be. But these are not the fabric of the universe. These are the constructs of a mind that believes it can harness the flow of life. The reality is that life does not bend to our will. It moves in its own mysterious ways, and we are simply swept along with it. This is not to say that we are powerless, far from it. We have the power to make choices, to act, to direct our attention. But there is a vast difference between guiding the course of our lives and believing that we have absolute control over it. There is a dance between intention and surrender, between effort and acceptance. The more we try to force life into the shape we desire, the more we create tension. The more we struggle against the current, the more we exhaust ourselves. True power does not come from domination, but from the ability to move with life, to flow with its rhythms. When we release the need to control, we begin to notice something profound. The universe is far more intelligent than we are. It has its own wisdom, its own patterns, its own way of unfolding. The more we trust in this, the more we align ourselves with it. We see that the unpredictability of life is not something to fear, but something to embrace. The unexpected is where the magic happens. It is in the moments we cannot predict that we find true growth, that we experience the richness of existence. Life is not meant to be a series of controlled, predictable outcomes. It is meant to be a journey, a flow of moments that take us to places we could never have imagined. In trying to control, we restrict ourselves. In trying to predict, we close ourselves off from the infinite possibilities that lie beyond our limited understanding. When we let go of the need to control, we open ourselves to a deeper experience of life. We begin to see that the unfolding of the world is not something we must manage, but something we must witness with awe and wonder. The illusion of control is a product of the mind's desire to feel secure, to make sense of the chaos around us. It seeks patterns, connections, and certainty because it feels vulnerable in the face of the unknown. But the unknown is not something to fear. It is the very essence of life itself. The illusion of control gives us the false comfort of certainty, but it also blinds us to the beauty and freedom that come from surrendering to what is. What happens when we relinquish the need to control? We find peace. We discover that the world does not need to conform to our desires in order for it to be meaningful. We begin to experience life more fully when we stop trying to force it into preconceived mold. The unexpected moments become opportunities for growth, and we start to realize that life is far richer and more fulfilling when we allow it to unfold naturally. The more we resist the illusion of control, the more we come to understand that we are not separate from the world around us. We are part of the flow, not the master of it. The beauty of existence is in its unpredictability, in its mystery. The more we accept this, the more we find ourselves at peace. The illusion of control dissipates, and we find ourselves in harmony with the ebb and flow of life. It is only when we let go of the need to control that we truly discover the freedom that has always been ours. Life moves in rhythms, much like the ebb and flow of the ocean, the changing of seasons, the beating of the heart. Yet, in our human experience, we often seek to interrupt that flow, to control and direct it, as though we can predict and manage the course of our lives. But life is not a series of predictable steps. It is a continuous, unpredictable current that we must learn to navigate, not control. When we stop fighting against this current, when we let go of the need to direct every moment, we find that life unfolds in ways far more beautiful than we could have ever imagined. We all have a natural tendency to seek control, to impose our will on the world around us. We want things to be a certain way. We want life to conform to our desires, to fit into neat, orderly boxes. But in doing so, we miss the magic that comes from simply being in the flow of life. When we are in the flow, we are not struggling against the current. We are not pushing or pulling. We are simply moving with the rhythm, allowing each moment to guide us to the next. This is the true essence of living, not fighting against the flow, but surrendering to it. It is natural to want to know where we are going, to have a clear path ahead, and to feel certain of our destination. Yet, life doesn't always work that way. The road is often winding, the path unclear, and the destination hidden from view. But in that uncertainty lies the beauty of existence. When we let go of the need to know, we open ourselves to a deeper understanding. We begin to trust in the unfolding of life, knowing that the journey itself is the destination. The flow of life is not something to be feared or controlled. It is something to be embraced, to be allowed to carry us, like a river carrying a leaf downstream. We are, each of us, like that leaf. We cannot control the river. We cannot command the water to take us in a specific direction. But we can trust that the river, in its wisdom, will carry us to exactly where we need to be. The challenge is not in trying to change the course of the river, but in learning to surrender to its current, to trust that it will take us where we are meant to go. And in that surrender, we find freedom. We find that we don't need to control every moment, every detail, because life itself is taking care of us. This is not to say that we should be passive, that we should sit idly by and wait for life to unfold. On the contrary, we must act, we must make choices, and we must move through life with purpose. But we must do so with the understanding that life is far larger than we are, far more complex, and far more capable of unfolding than we can ever imagine. We must move with the flow, not against it. We must learn to act with the current, not fight it. Life's flow is not something that can be planned or forced. It is something that emerges naturally when we allow ourselves to be present, when we stop trying to manipulate every moment to our liking, when we are fully engaged with the present moment, when we release our attachment to the past and the future. We find ourselves in harmony with life's rhythm, and it is in that harmony that we discover true peace, true joy. There is a profound freedom that comes from letting go of the need to control the flow of life. It is a freedom that allows us to be fully present, to experience each moment as it comes, without the burden of expectations or fear. When we trust in the flow of life, we are no longer concerned with what might happen next. We are simply here in the present moment, moving with the current, responding to whatever comes our way. When we resist the flow, we create tension, anxiety, and struggle. We create resistance to life itself. But when we flow with it, when we let go of our need to control, we become part of something far greater than ourselves. We align ourselves with the natural rhythms of the universe, and in doing so, we experience a peace that transcends our individual desires and fears. So, let us learn to trust the flow of life. Let us stop fighting the current, stop trying to control every outcome, and allow life to carry us where we need to go. The river knows its way, just as life knows its way. All we need to do is surrender, and in that surrender we find freedom, we find peace, and we find a deeper connection to the flow of existence itself. The ego is a construct of the mind, a story we tell ourselves about who we are, what we are, and where we fit into the world. It is the image we present to the world and the voice in our heads that constantly tries to reinforce our sense of self. The ego seeks validation, it seeks security, and it clings to the idea of control. But the ego, much like a mirage in the desert, can never truly satisfy us. The more we cling to it, the more we separate ourselves from the deeper truth of who we are. At its core, the ego is based on the illusion that we are separate from everything else. It creates boundaries, divisions, and distinctions, telling us that we are an individual, an isolated entity, set apart from the vast, interconnected web of life. The ego whispers to us, convincing us that our worth is tied to what we have, what we do, and what others think of us. It tells us that we must protect ourselves, defend our position, and constantly strive for more. But in truth, all of this is a distraction from the deeper reality that we are not separate, that we are part of something much greater, much more expansive than the limited self the ego constructs. When we begin to question the ego, when we start to see it for what it truly is, a collection of thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions, we begin to open ourselves to the possibility of letting it go. Letting go of the ego is not about denying who we are or trying to erase our individuality. It is not about rejecting the self. It is about seeing through the illusion of separation. It is about realizing that the self we cling to, the self we defend, is not the true self. The true self is not the one bound by labels and identities, but the one that is connected to the whole, to the flow of life itself. To let go of the ego is to release the need for constant validation, to stop seeking approval from others, and to stop identifying with the roles we play. It is to accept that our worth is not determined by what we own, how we look, or what others think of us. Our worth comes from simply being, from existing in this moment as we are, without the need to justify our place in the world. The ego thrives on comparison, on competition, on the constant measuring of ourselves against others. But when we let go of this need, we find that there is no longer any separation between us and others. We see that we are all part of the same energy, the same flow, the same universal rhythm. Letting go of the ego is not something that happens overnight. It is a process, a gradual unfolding. The ego is deeply ingrained in our thinking, in our behaviors, and in our interactions with the world. It is easy to identify with the ego, to believe that we are our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. But when we begin to step back and observe, when we begin to witness our thoughts without identifying with them, we start to see that the ego is just a passing cloud in the sky of our consciousness. It rises, it fades, but it is not permanent. In the space between our thoughts, in the moments of stillness and silence, we begin to catch glimpses of the truth beyond the ego. We begin to experience life not as an isolated individual, but as a part of the whole. We see that the ego, while it serves a purpose in navigating the world, is not who we truly are. We are not the roles we play, the titles we wear, or the labels we carry. We are not the sum of our possessions, our accomplishments, or our failures. We are the awareness that experiences all of these things, the consciousness that is aware of the thoughts, the emotions, and the sensations that arise. When we let go of the ego, we stop identifying with the story of who we think we are. We stop measuring ourselves against others and against the past. We begin to live more fully in the present moment, without the constant need to prove or protect. In this freedom we find peace. We find that the need to control diminishes, the need for validation fades, and the need to be right falls away. We realize that we are already complete, that we are already whole, just as we are. Letting go of the ego is a profound shift in perception. It is a shift from the self-centered view of the world to a more expansive, interconnected view. It is the recognition that we are not separate from the world around us, but an integral part of it. The more we let go of the ego, the more we align ourselves with the flow of life, the more we become attuned to the rhythm of the universe. This process of letting go is not about striving to eliminate the ego, but about seeing it for what it truly is, a temporary, passing phenomenon. It is about realizing that we are more than the ego, more than the stories we tell ourselves, more than the identities we wear. We are the vast, boundless consciousness that underlies everything. And when we let go of the ego, we step into the freedom that comes from living without the need for self-importance, without the constant pressure to be something we are not. So, let us learn to let go of the ego. Let us release the need to define ourselves by external markers, by what we have, by what we do, and by what others think of us. Let us live in the knowing that we are enough, that we are already whole, that we are part of the infinite, unbroken flow of life. And in this letting go we will find peace, we will find freedom, and we will find ourselves connected to the deepest truth of who we are. There is a timeless truth that many of us spend our entire lives trying to understand. The only moment that is truly ours is the present moment. Yet, how often do we find ourselves lost in thoughts of the past or the future, drifting in memories or anxiously awaiting what's to come? We get so caught up in the flow of time that we forget the simplicity and beauty of what is happening right now. To live in the present is not a concept we need to chase or force, but a truth we need to awaken to. The present is not something to be planned for, or something that arrives after a series of tasks are completed. It is not the reward at the end of some long road. It is the only reality we ever experience. The past is gone, the future is yet to come, and the present is all that truly exists. The mind, in its attempt to organize the world, constantly jumps between these two realms. It tells us stories of the past, bringing up memories and events that we no longer have any control over. It projects into the future, creating scenarios and outcomes that may never even unfold. But in doing so, the mind distracts us from the one place we can truly experience life right here, right now. When we live in the present, we stop giving so much energy to what has already happened, to regrets or past mistakes. We stop worrying about what might happen, about uncertainties and fears that exist only in our imagination. Instead, we focus on what is directly in front of us, the sounds around us, the sensations we feel, the people in our lives. We become attuned to the richness of the present moment, no longer seeking fulfillment in what is no longer, or in what is not yet. Living in the present does not mean we abandon all plans or forget about the future. It simply means that we no longer base our happiness or sense of well-being on things outside of this moment. When we are fully present, we engage deeply with what we are doing, whether it is work, conversation, or simply sitting in silence. We connect with life on a deeper level because we are no longer divided between time between what we were and what we will be. We are whole, complete, and fully immersed in what is. To live in the present is to experience the world without the interference of the past or future. It is the ability to simply be, without the need to do, achieve, or prove anything. When we are fully present, we let go of expectations and just experience life as it comes. The beauty of a sunset, the taste of food, the sound of laughter, these things are often lost on us when we are not paying attention, when we are not fully here. But when we give ourselves permission to be in the present, we open ourselves to a world of experience that has always been waiting for us. The present moment is a portal to a deeper reality, a reality that exists beyond the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we need. It is a space where we can simply be, without judgment or comparison. It is a place of peace, of stillness, and of joy. But we must actively cultivate the awareness to be present. The mind will try to pull us away, to drag us into the past or the future, but we must remind ourselves to come back to this moment, to this breath. Living in the present is a practice of mindfulness. It is the art of being fully engaged in whatever is happening, no matter how mundane it may seem. It is about embracing the ordinary with the same reverence as the extraordinary, because both are part of the same unfolding story. It is about taking a deep breath, feeling the air enter your body, and acknowledging that this moment, this breath, is all that is. The past is a story, the future is a dream, and the present is where we truly live. In a world that constantly urges us to do more, to achieve more, and to worry about what's to come, living in the present may feel like a radical act. But it is perhaps the most liberating thing we can do. It is a return to ourselves, a return to the simplicity of being, without the need to grasp or hold on to anything. When we live in the present, we align ourselves with the flow of life. We move with it, we respond to it, and we experience it fully. So, let us learn to live in the present. Let us be aware of the preciousness of each moment, knowing that it will never come again. Let us stop waiting for the right time, for the future to unfold, and instead embrace the now. For in the present moment we find everything we have been searching for: peace, joy, and a deep connection to the world around us. The present is the only reality we will ever know, and it is enough. It is all we need. The paradox of control lies in this simple truth: the more we try to control life, the less control we actually have. We live in a world where we are constantly taught that control is the key to success, happiness, and security. From the time we are children, we are told that if we can just manage our environment, our circumstances, our relationships, we will have life figured out. And yet, the harder we try to control everything, the more it slips from our grasp. Control in its essence is a denial of the natural flow of life. Life is fluid, unpredictable, and ever-changing. It moves like a river, carving new paths, reshaping itself with each passing moment. Yet we, in our desire for certainty, seek to freeze that flow. We want to hold life in place, to make it conform to our desires and expectations. But the very act of trying to control life only creates resistance. It is like trying to hold water in your hands. The more tightly you grasp, the faster it slips away. This is the paradox. In our attempts to gain control, we create more chaos. The more we try to manage every detail, to predict every outcome, the more anxious and uncertain we become. We find ourselves caught in a loop, a cycle of striving and struggling, as if the tighter we hold on, the more secure we will be. But the truth is, the tighter we grasp, the more we separate ourselves from the very flow of life that we seek to control. Life does not bend to our will. It does not conform to our expectations, and in this we find both the frustration and the freedom. When we finally let go of the need for control, we begin to see the world in a different light. We realize that control is an illusion, a mental construct we have created in an attempt to feel safe and secure. But in reality, safety and security do not come from control. They come from surrendering to the unknown, from trusting in the natural rhythm of life. When we let go of control, we stop trying to fight the current. Instead, we begin to flow with it. This does not mean that we become passive, that we give up responsibility or action. It simply means that we stop trying to dictate every outcome, every decision, every moment. We stop seeking to manipulate life and start allowing life to unfold as it will. This is where true freedom lies, in the release of control, in the willingness to trust that life will unfold in the best way possible, even when we cannot see the full picture. The paradox deepens when we consider that true control comes not from trying to change the world around us, but from changing our relationship to it. When we stop trying to control everything, we discover that we have more control over our own reactions, our own thoughts, our own state of being. We cannot control the weather, the actions of others, or the course of events, but we can control how we respond to them. We can choose to approach life with acceptance, with trust, and with the understanding that we are not separate from the flow, we are part of it. In letting go of control, we find peace. We find that life becomes easier, more fluid, and more enjoyable. We stop battling against the inevitable ups and downs, the twists and turns of existence, and start embracing them. Life is not something to be conquered or controlled. It is something to be lived, experienced, and enjoyed. The paradox of control is that, by releasing our need for it, we discover a freedom far greater than any we could have achieved through effort alone. When we stop trying to force the world into our narrow view of what it should be, we begin to see it in all its richness and complexity. We start to recognize the beauty in the unexpected, in the surprises that life throws our way. We learn that there is wisdom in uncertainty, that sometimes the best things happen when we stop trying to force them into existence. Life, in its raw, unfiltered form, is far more wondrous than any vision we could ever impose upon it. So, let us let go of the need to control. Let us stop trying to shape every moment and instead embrace the uncertainty of life. For in the release of control we find the freedom to truly live. The more we let go, the more we realize that life was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be experienced in all its chaos, in all its beauty, in all its unpredictability. And in that experience we find a deeper connection to ourselves, to others, and to the infinite flow of existence that carries us all. Freedom is often perceived as the ability to do what we want, when we want, and how we want. It is associated with the idea of control over our circumstances, our environment, our destiny. But true freedom is not found in holding on, in trying to shape life according to our desires. It is found in the act of letting go. When we let go, we release our attachment to the idea of control, to the need to constantly manage every aspect of our lives. We let go of the illusion that we can predict the future, that we can fix everything, or that we can protect ourselves from all harm. The moment we let go, we stop fighting against the natural flow of life. We surrender, not in weakness, but in strength, a strength that arises from the realization that we do not need to control everything to be free. Letting go is not about giving up. It is not about resigning ourselves to fate or abandoning our goals and dreams. It is about releasing the attachment to the outcome, to the specific way in which we think life should unfold. We hold on so tightly to our desires, our plans, and our expectations that we become prisoners of our own creation. The more we try to control, the more bound we become by the very things we are trying to shape. True freedom, then, comes not from trying to hold on to life, but from letting it unfold naturally. When we let go, we stop resisting the present moment. We stop trying to change what is. We stop struggling against the reality of life, and instead we begin to embrace it fully. This does not mean we stop acting or stop striving. It simply means we stop forcing things to happen in a specific way. We stop trying to make life bend to our will. Instead, we allow ourselves to move with it, to flow with it, to be part of it. Freedom in letting go comes from the deep understanding that we are not separate from life, but an integral part of it. We are not alone in our journey, but interconnected with the world around us. When we release our attachment to the idea of controlling life, we come to see that we are part of something far greater, something much more expansive than our limited sense of self. We are part of the ebb and flow of existence, and in letting go, we align ourselves with that flow. Letting go also means releasing the grip we have on the past. We hold on to past experiences, regrets, and mistakes as if they define who we are. We carry the weight of old wounds, old fears, and old identities, believing that they shape our present and our future. But the past is gone. It no longer exists, except in our minds. When we let go of the past, we free ourselves from its grip. We stop living in the shadow of who we used to be and open ourselves to the possibilities of who we can become. Similarly, letting go means releasing our attachment to the future. We spend so much time worrying about what will happen, about what we should do next, about what we need to accomplish. We become obsessed with what is yet to come, to the point where we miss the beauty and richness of the present. The future is uncertain. It is shaped by the present moment, by the choices we make right now. But when we live in constant anticipation of what is to come, we rob ourselves of the freedom to truly experience life as it is. By letting go of the need to control the future, we free ourselves to live fully in the now. True freedom is found in the surrender to life as it is. It is the release of the need to control every outcome, every detail, every event. It is the willingness to trust that life knows what it is doing, even when we don't understand it. When we let go, we stop forcing ourselves to fit into a particular mold, to meet a certain expectation. We stop judging ourselves, critiquing ourselves, and striving to be something we are not. Instead, we embrace who we are right here, right now. Letting go is also about releasing the ego. The ego is the part of us that believes it is separate from the rest of the world. It clings to control, to identity, to validation. The ego believes that it is its thoughts, its accomplishments, its status. But the ego is just a construct, a collection of beliefs and stories we tell ourselves. When we let go of the ego, we let go of the need to be right, to be seen, to be validated. We stop identifying with the roles we play, and instead we recognize ourselves as part of the greater whole. In letting go, we find that we are free from the endless cycle of striving and achieving. We are free from the constant pressure to be more, do more, have more. We find peace in simply being. We realize that life is not a race, but a journey. And in the moment we stop fighting against it, we start to move with it, to flow with it, to live in harmony with it. So let us learn to let go. Let us release our attachment to control, to the past, to the future, to the ego. Let us surrender to the present moment, to the unfolding of life as it is. For in letting go, we find the truest form of freedom, a freedom that comes not from trying to change the world, but from accepting it exactly as it is. And in that acceptance, we find peace, joy, and a deep connection to the vast, infinite flow of life.